wherever we are, they just want to.
They want to be where we are, and I'm concerned that he's just very interested in all the stuff that's in here right now and us. So I'm afraid he's gonna knock some stuff over. But we love having Charles here.
All right.
Anyway. Hey everybody! Welcome back to the Chorizo Bros. We are bringing a very special episode today, the first episode of 2025 with all three of us. I did a random book review on one of the graphic novels associated with Jodorowsky's Dune. We'll get to that, but that came out already. But this is going to be our first discussion for the beginning of the year. We're excited here.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, by the way. Hope you guys had an awesome holiday season. We're ready to see what 2025 is going to bring us, what we're going to watch, what we're going to read, how much fun we're going to have.
I'm actually excited.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So today we're going to be talking about, it's not very well known, is it? I don't know a lot of people that have seen it.
I doubt a lot of people have seen it.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
But it does have a reputation online for being this really interesting, cool little documentary. So the thing we're talking about today is something called Jodorowsky's Dune. So Jodorowsky was a filmmaker that attempted to, in the 70s, put together a team to make a adaptation from Frank Herbert's Dune book. Spoiler alert, the project doesn't go through. He assembles an amazing team, which we'll talk about. And then it, for whatever reason, this reason or that reason, it didn't go through because Jodorowsky's a madman. And this documentary is sort of, right? This documentary is sort of the exploration of this failed project.
He's very patient with his work.
He's very patient with his work.
I could see that.
So what we'll do is we'll kind of jump around and we'll do our little quick review of it, and then we'll just open the discussion with the expectation that if you are watching after the review that you've seen it, so we're just going to spoil the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Cool? Who wants to start?
I'll start. Yeah, I think I want to let everybody know that I'm coming at this with almost no additional homework, so to speak. So if you watch the documentary, there's a lot of additional kind of research you can do. I kind of wanted to go away from that. So I watched the documentary and pretty much that's it. I don't really know much about Jodorowsky's work. I don't know much about Dune in itself. So I'm almost a virgin when it comes to all of the other stuff that you could research. I solely would just watch the documentary. And my thoughts on it are, it was okay. I thought it was okay. It wasn't like, I would recommend this documentary for everybody. It was really a unique documentary that I've never quite seen before. It had the typical like documentary stylization, like the interviews and little pictures and whatnot. So like that was expected, but the topic at hand I thought was, of course, the more interesting thing. But it was okay. I liked it. I didn't think it was incredible, but I was thoroughly entertained from start to finish, and I would give it like a solid, maybe 6 out of 10.
All right.
Well, I feel the same way you do, man. I'm being honest. I went to this like not even know who he is, what he did. I mean, Doom itself, I don't even know about it until you told me about it. Mm-hmm. Like, recommend it to people. Like he said, few people, not a lot. I mean, if you're into Doom, watch it. That'd be kind of cool if he really did make this movie. I mean, I think his trippy ways. I'm gonna give it a 4, man, out of 10. Like.
A 4 out of 10?
Yeah, well, he said 10. We went up to 10. I was going to go 5. Yeah. Well,
we'll just do out of 10. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do mine out of 10 also.
I'm saying 4. I love the pictures, like the colors you wanted to put into it, but I really didn't like, how can I say, it wasn't really like, I wasn't excited about it. Like, I actually want to read the book.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
it
have
kind of motivated
done
me
that.
to read the book.
Been more interested in what the
actual
original book is because of that documentary.
And of course, we have more stuff to talk about that I want to ask too. Like,
sure, yeah, we're definitely gonna hit it.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm a 4. Recommend to some people. I mean, if you do love Doom or you're a big fan, it would be cool to watch this documentary about him. Like, it would have been awesome if this movie really came out. It would have probably changed the industry of Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So.
Cool. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. A little bit better than average because I found the project itself to be very fascinating. And I'm already familiar with the Dune books, so that already had a leg up in terms of what my expectations were for what Jodorowsky was working with. The film itself, the documentary itself, was very averagely made. Nothing really stood out about it. I found some of the editing to be a little obnoxious, but I found the subject matter to be very interesting. And that's kind of where I'm like, I get why it isn't that fascinating for people to just watch this, but I am obsessed with books. I am obsessed with movies. I thought it was actually really appropriate for the type of project the Chorizo Bros has been. We talked about
absolutely.
We talked about books and movies and different adaptations of things. So I thought that this was going to be a cool beginning of the year just thing for us to watch. Again, if it didn't blow us away, cool. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that was going on with this project. So for the documentary, watching it, there's I would only really recommend it to anybody that's already familiar with Dune or is just interested in filmmaking as a whole, because I think it's kind of a love letter to chasing your dream and film and art and all that stuff. So that's where I stand. Do you guys want to jump in with a specific topic or?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think it's kind of cool that I think all of us
we're all kind of on the same page
with this. You know, I think with your rating of like a 4, I that doesn't surprise me that much. But one thing that I thought was just kind of interesting is just his personality. You know, Alejandro was very expressive and
passionate.
He almost seemed like a mad scientist with like the crazy hair. Yeah. He didn't have crazy hair, but he almost the way he talked.
Some of the pictures of him he did.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Like the way he was talking about it almost seemed like he needed like a monocle and like a laboratory jacket, and he was messing with a bunch of potions and stuff like that. And that was really cool to see. And I really appreciated like you said, like the filmmaking aspect of it. One thing that I think was interesting for me is that I appreciated it after I watched it, like their nobility in trying to create this film. But as I initially watched it, I was kind of like getting bored. I was like, so what? You didn't make the movie. Like I kind of already knew that was going to be the case. So I was kind of like, so what? You didn't, why do I want to know about this story that didn't pan out? And I kind of had a negative attitude from the very beginning of the documentary. But as I continued on and started understanding a little bit more who they wanted for the project,
who they were seemingly getting,
right? Yeah, and a lot of works that people now use based off of that, I had this like more profound respect for it toward the end. So I'm not gonna lie, I thought today I was gonna just totally bash and be like, oh, so what? Who cares? They didn't make this. Like, it doesn't matter, but it actually really does.
Man, I really think that he gave another look to Hollywood. Like, most of it, supposedly everything you saw, like Blade Runner, Aliens, all of them, like, had a little piece of his little mind. And
well, Alien had some of the team from his Dune
the original?
Yeah, okay. Dan O'Bannon and Giger.
Oh, shit, okay.
So the guy that was going to work on the special effects for the Dune project, and then the Giger who ended up creating Alien. So they actually took some of the people that were gonna do Dune, and that's why Alien exists.
The way
because that studio knew about the Dune project already.
Right.
So imagine, and we did Alien.
Yes. And Blade Runner.
And it was funny because you could even like imagine like what the movie would look like, and so you kind of picture like, okay, if this, I feel like the special effects in Blade Runner would be a heavy influence on like if they actually made Dune. Mm-hmm. The style of ships and characters and not monsters, but
sure, the Sandworm's a monster.
Sure, would be very influenced by the alien artist. I forget his name.
Giger.
Yeah,
I got one of his art books up here.
Yeah, one thing I thought that was really, and I'm kind of curious what y'all's thoughts are, is let's say this movie did get done. How well do you think it would do at the box office?
Terrible. This would have been a nightmare.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. I mean, if we're thinking practically, like ideally, it would have been cool to see, and that's the point of the documentary. It would have been cool to see this,
right?
But thinking in practical terms, if they actually went through and Jodorowsky let them make cuts and tried to actually turn it into a legitimate sellable film, it would have been bad. I think it would have been terrible.
I don't think the film. I don't think you're saying that the film would be terrible. I think from the business side, it would be terrible.
Both, because it trickles down. If the business isn't working, the film's not going to work.
And that's probably the reason why he didn't do it, right? Because they were controlling what. Or
If they asked him,
was it because of the money?
One of the things that he said was that it was going to be like a 14-hour movie or something. I'm picking a number out of my ass, but it's a ridiculously long movie. And he was like, I don't want to trim it. I'm like, are you fucking insane? What? You expect people to go to the movie theater and sit there all day? Like that? It's obviously not going to work. They're going to have to make cuts.
Right.
So the fact that he didn't want to work around that is part of probably why this didn't work. It's part of it. Him not wanting to budge on his dream. And where you were saying, so what if it's your dream? So there's a lot of stuff to criticize this man about. But what made me fascinated by him was a little bit of his charisma, a little bit of his just artistic ambition. Because that's very clear that
I like that about
what he saw, like he knew what he wanted it to look like.
He wanted it to be this grand thing that's never been done before, and it's going to change the world, not just the film industry itself. And you definitely got that idea, and I agree with you that it would just be. I disagree with you that it would be a failure from a movie perspective, like the movie itself. I think the movie would actually be really, really great, but I think from a business standpoint, it would do awful.
Have you seen any of Jodorowsky's work?
I haven't.
I think you would hate it.
If you saw it,
Really?
it would have.
I think if you watched Holy Mountain or El Topo, you probably. I can't speak for you. I'm guessing based on all the things we've watched together.
Yeah, I can.
You probably would not like any of it.
I can only assume what it's like. I think it's probably really harsh cut edits, really
bright colors.
Bright colors, stuff that maybe doesn't necessarily make sense. It's almost like
surreal.
A painting on a film is what I imagine a lot of his work is like.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so, but think about it like this: is like how long were some of these films that he did? Like maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah,
2 hours.
Sellable to an audience.
Right. So imagine if you have that style, but you're able to extend it for long periods of time. I think that there would probably be a way for them to come together to where it doesn't seem so harsh, sporadic, because you have the length of time to lead the audience into a scene. Even though there's all these bright colors, at least there's a little bit of time in order for it to develop in itself. Because I like movies like that.
You can adjust to it. You can feel yourself getting used to the surroundings, and
because like we've had arguments before where like some movies are a little bit longer, and I like that. Like I think we talked about Silence of the Lambs. Some of their scenes are long, and I like that. I like the
Blade Runner. We discussed it. Some of us feeling like it was too long.
Right. So I feel like if they actually did it, I'm arguing that it probably actually would be a really solid film. But from a business standpoint, I wouldn't stamp approval on it, even probably now. And I don't think people are even still ready.
If they did manage to make this work, the way that I see it in terms of what let's say they did make this, what our view on it would be, is similar to like 2001. Now, 2001, a lot of people think it's a little bit too long and it's a little bit too slow and there's not too much that's happening. Yeah. But the visuals are amazing and the music is amazing and the editing and all of that stuff. And so even if you don't enjoy 2001: A Space Odyssey, you can understand why it has its place in film. And I think we'd be saying the same thing about Jodorowsky's Dune had he made it, where you'd go, it's hard to sit through, but it is it's influenced so much of this, and no one's done anything like this before. So I think it would have a reputation of being like an important film to watch, but I think there would be a overall sort of like, damn, all right, we got to watch this one. Like it feels like work, because 2001, if I'm not in the mood to watch it, I'm like, that movie's too goddamn slow.
It is.
Even though it's one of those things, it's critical to people that understand film. You have to see that movie if you're interested in film. It's like one of the originals.
I just don't know why he couldn't make it in 2 parts. Like, why did he really have to put the whole 12 hours?
This is a case of him, like, being up his own ass a little bit too much. Oh. He thought that he had it a little bit more figured out than some people. He kept saying that he needed his spiritual warriors. Everything was a fight. And that's cool, but it's also like, why do you think your vision is that important? Why can't you just take a knee on this one? Why can't you accept what the studio is saying? Because you get to make this thing still.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think so. Jodorowsky, what was he originally? Like, so he was a writer.
He made a lot of things. I think originally he worked in theater.
Okay.
He did theater, and then he did some movies. There's a part where he talks about getting some movies made in Mexico, and they weren't part of a union, so they said that he could make it, and he's like, "Why can't I make my film?" You know, so he always felt like the underdog a little bit. You get the vibe that he always felt like people didn't get him, and I'm like, well, dude, if I were working with you, I would find this stuff to be a little bit annoying.
Yes, the way I see him is that yes, he was like a writer for theater, and he was an actor or whatever, but he almost seems like an actual painter,
like a visual artist.
A visual artist.
Yeah.
So he wants to create something that is like a painting. You can take as much time as you want to create this painting. The artistic journey for that is however long you put the effort into it. So I think that he's treating that artistic time into a movie, but from a business. Movies are their business. There's not really, but there are people out there that make movies for like the artistic value.
Yeah.
But he was doing it in this really lengthy, long story that he wanted to create, and so I think that's why he was probably so steadfast on like wanting it one film. I don't care how long it is. Here's my spiritual warriors. This isn't just a business. This is a grand painting that I'm making. It's, you know, the largest painting that's ever been made. You know what I mean?
That's
it's
what you mean.
how
I can see that.
I see that.
It is weird that he would choose a project like Dune, having not read the book.
I was about to say that. I heard that he didn't read the book.
Yeah, well, he says it in the thing. He was, you know, I don't know what Dune is. I could say anything. I could say Hamlet. I can say Don Quixote. I chose Dune just because he heard that there was cool shit about it.
Yeah, that's what
And then he went and changed some things, which is what it is. Let's talk about some of the team that he puts together, because this team sounds crazy. This team sounds... You're like, whoa, I would love to see a project of these people working together.
I would just love to see it. Like, even if it sucked or not.
Yeah, even if it wasn't good, I would want to see a movie with Pink Floyd doing the music.
Dude, yeah, bro.
Tell me about it.
That's the big thing. It's like
that was the
that would have. I wouldn't even care if the movie was bad. If the music was like
a sci-fi movie with Pink Floyd. Come on,
a Dune movie in the sand, bro. Because Pink Floyd were so ahead of their time musically.
Yeah.
Like, even back then, it was this weird space rock thing, and I don't know, had they done Dark Side of the Moon before this project was talked about? He'd done Dark Side of the Moon, and then that was like the most recent thing they did.
He mentions it,
and that's like their big. I mean, you could put that on today, and it still blows people away. Like, they go, "What the fuck? This is a crazy album." So that's kind of the biggest thing. Is like having Pink Floyd. That's one of my favorite bands.
So like he always wanted to have the psychedelic look to his movies, and I can just imagine Pink Floyd, the desert, all the color. And like, man, it would have been very.
It would have been cool.
Very creepy, like.
So there's an album they did called Meddle, and Meddle, and there's like a fetus on the front of the album cover. It looks, I mean, it's like maybe like a dolphin fetus or something. It's kind of weird. We'll look at it later. But the last song on that album is called Echoes, and the song is pretty normal, but then it gets into weird whale sounds and. It starts getting trippy. You've definitely heard it.
Yeah,
you guys are Pink Floyd fans. You've definitely heard
whale
it.
Sound. I'm like
the whale sounds. Now, rumor has it, the concept behind that was that they were supposed to work on 2001: A Space Odyssey, but they turned it down, and then later on regretted that they turned it down. So they secretly designed this song to go with 2001: A Space Odyssey. So if you play that album at the specific moment, the whale songs happen when the astronaut's going through that trippy thing. Yeah. It's supposed to go with that sequence, and if you sync it right, it actually fits. Dang. I've done it. What? It actually works.
Really?
It's cool. Yeah.
Wow. I heard some. Okay, well.
So that's just one of the things. So I can imagine them going back and being like, "Damn, we should have done that."
That would have.
Can you imagine 2001 had Pink
I
Floyd?
can see some crazy shit where like Pink Floyd literally does the entire music and all of it is like one giant song or something.
Yeah.
I could totally see some kind of crazy shit like that.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we had to let Charles in. He's probably gonna jump on the table. So if you see a big orange cat, that's what's going on.
So,
come here, Charles.
Talking about Pink Floyd, yes.
So Pink Floyd. I mean, everybody on this team was amazing. So
yeah, you got
Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger.
Oh yeah.
And he was playing the villain, right? He was playing the son.
I think he was playing Fade Routha. He's the one that has no eyebrows.
No eyebrows, yeah.
Dilly. I think that's who he's supposed to be. They were gonna get Orson Welles.
Yeah, to play the bad guy.
The Baron.
The Baron, yeah, the big guy.
I thought that was cool as fuck because the way he gets him is probably the most interesting part where he's like, I've done enough. I've been working in this industry forever. I've directed amazing movies. I've acted. He did the War of the Worlds thing. Did you hear about that where they were doing a radio play of War of the Worlds? This is an urban legend. I don't think it actually happened. But really? The urban legend is that he did that and people tuned into War of the Worlds on the radio and mistakenly thought that it was actually happening, that there was an alien invasion. That people were like jumping off a
way.
Yeah, that's what the legend is. So Orson Welles he's an enigma. There's an enigma about him. There's something kind of unique and crazy about him in terms of his artwork. So having him be the bad guy and the way they convince him, how did they convince him to be in it? Do you remember?
Yeah, so they find out where in Paris he likes to eat, I guess.
Yeah.
And so they end up meeting there or something, and Jodorowsky gives him like the best wine that the restaurant carries or that he likes.
Yeah, what's the one he likes?
And he's like, okay, come over here, I'll talk to you. And then he's like, I really want you for a project. And he convinces him like, yo, I'll get this restaurant, this chef like on retainer.
Yeah.
And you can eat like this on set, like whenever you want. And homeboy was like, yeah, like dang.
Sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even care how much money he was going to spend. He just wanted to get all these
actors. He just wanted to eat the food. Dang.
Like,
that's my kind of guy, bro. That's my kind of guy.
If that's how he got him, then that's how he got him. You know?
That is fucking
Salvador Dali.
Remember, he was the one getting paid $100.
The artist? You guys know about his big thing is the melted clocks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
but
what were you saying about his
money? The money. How much was he getting paid for an hour? Just an hour to act?
Well, so Dali was chosen to be the emperor.
Which I think it fits him perfect.
Which he would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But Dali is notorious for being difficult. And that's like, if you're painters and stuff, he's difficult.
I know painter.
Am I difficult? I'm not as difficult as Dali.
No, definitely not. No.
So his stipulation was that he wanted to be the most paid actor. And what ended up happening is after some back and forth with the producers and the studio, they were like, well, what we can do is we can pay you for how many minutes you're used in the movie. So we can pay you $100,000 per minute used of your face. And that's what got him. He goes, I'll be the most paid actor per minute.
But it's a fucking...
it's like
maybe a few minutes. Like
it's 2 minutes.
Like,
it's like 3 minutes of work. And then they were going to have a robot version of him.
Yes.
Because they couldn't pay him to be on the screen. And then he was like, that's fine if I can have it for my museum.
Wow. Maybe this movie would be awful. Honestly.
It would have been terrible.
Maybe it would be awful.
It would have been terrible.
A robot.
Watching this documentary wants me to want to watch it just to see it. Just to see what my...
Yeah, of course. I would still watch it. I think it would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Well, seeing his other movies were weird as like.
Did you watch the other ones?
No, I haven't seen them, but just watching the little.
We should watch a clip of some of his other stuff because you'd be like, okay, I see how this would have looked.
His mind
is out there.
So if they did make this movie, I think it would be a flop at the box office. I think it would just be an awful movie.
Had they done it, it would have been this. It probably would have been a disaster. It probably would have flopped because
maybe the hippies would have loved it back in the day.
Yeah, they would have been the biggest audience.
Maybe that would be a running thing in movies today, with it's like the psychedelic type lifestyle type movie. And I also think spirituality would probably be even bigger in specifically sci-fi films, because I was thinking about this on the way here. I think that's also another aspect of where maybe the producers didn't want to do it because of how spiritual it was. I think movies right now, they're all spiritual, but they do it very specific to where audiences don't feel as uncomfortable about it. So, for example,
I was going to say, give me an example, because I feel like movies aren't spiritual anymore.
So, for example, maybe I shouldn't use spiritual, but maybe like the use of like, let's say Jesus or a Messiah or a prophecy. I think that is, if it's spelled out like it was in Dune, where he's the Messiah,
he's the chosen one. Yeah,
that's like thrown at you in Dune, and I'm assuming in the book it's worded as such, like the Messiah.
It's pretty clear. They have something called the Orange Catholic Bible. It's pretty clear that he's the Messiah.
Right. And so it's like super religion heavy. So I think that probably scared people off. And I think audiences, even now, don't really, they kind of sway away from that. But it's still in movies today. You got like Luke Skywalker. He's the one, you know. You've got all these other super hyper, you know, they're the main character. They're the one. Neo. Literally.
Yeah, but that's not today. One. That was, 25 years ago.
Like right. Well, true, but even still, like
I'm talking because when you say today, I'm thinking like what, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, maybe I'm just thinking of popular movies, but
I think right. But I think it all still translates to like there's something very unique or very Messiah-like on a certain individual that, like Hamlet, you know, and you know that dates back many years ago. And like kind of what we talked about, I think the
hero's journey,
right? And so I think that if Dune was made the way that he wanted, maybe movies would be more. Jeez. Maybe movies would be more spiritual in that regard and not be so afraid to go into the heavy on the religion aspect of it.
You feel like the religion part is what freaked him out. I think it was the.
I think it's part of it.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's more so that he was just difficult. Yeah, he was just like not willing to budge. And I feel like that was a big part of who he was. And that's why you kind of respect him a little bit. Where you go, well, that is kind of cool that he just stuck by his guns. He said, fuck it, I want to make this. That's why it didn't work, and that sucks. But like, let's say that some madman at the studio was like, fuck it, let's just fund it. And he made it. It probably would have been incredible. If he had carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. Not having to cut corners and if you could have Pink Floyd do whatever they wanted.
Because the 86 one just tanked, right? I heard it was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've seen it. It's not good.
Yeah, like, even when it first came out in theater, it was trash. A lot of people didn't like it.
Well, I actually really like that scene, too, when Jodorowsky's talking about, well, the studio ended up selling the rights to somebody else, and he's like, oh, man, I don't want to... Someone else is going to make the movie I poured my heart and soul into. And you can tell he really did work hard to try to make this.
He did.
So, and the sadness that he I mean, you see him deflate on screen. You see him go like, oh man, like and then his son tells him, nah, we're warriors.
Yeah, we're warriors,
We're going to watch it.
We're going to go see it.
That's cool.
It doesn't matter if we feel uncomfortable. We got to look it in the eye. We got to see it. I was like, damn, that's kind of cool. And then they saw it and he goes, it was awful.
Oh, yeah. He was so happy about it.
And he goes, David Lynch is an artist. He if anyone can do it, David Lynch can do it. And which is true.
He gave a lot of respect to David Lynch.
Yeah, he did. David Lynch doesn't like his Dune movie either. So this isn't like one of his prized movies that he worked on and then it didn't go through or whatever. David Lynch even didn't like this movie. So there's still a lot of
and
respect
also, it
for
was
him.
a little bit controlled too.
And David Lynch directed one of my favorite movies of all time, so have to shout that out.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying like
Elephant Man.
But I know you're gonna say Elephant Man, but
I love Elephant Man.
I feel like he was also controlled. Like he was also you can't do this, you can't do that.
I think David Lynch is, there could have probably made a really good Dune movie with it because. It is weird. The book is weird. It's strange, and I think David Lynch is okay with getting weird.
Why do you say that it's weird?
Oh, of course, he made Elephant Man.
Yeah, but Elephant Man is his least weird movie.
Oh, he has weirder movies.
There's weird. Have you heard of Eraserhead?
I was about to say Eraserhead. Or that one's strange.
Or Lost Highway, or Mulholland Drive.
So he would have been perfect to make.
Yeah, he could have done it. Yeah. He's definitely not afraid to get weird.
So the Dune book, how is it weird? Because the story seems pretty straightforward, but what makes it super weird?
Well, it's hard to remember when we talked about it before. You said y'all had seen the Denis Villeneuve, the newest Dune movies, right?
Yes.
Right.
And you were like, well, I didn't know that this is supposed to be a concept of a future where we don't use AI.
Yeah.
We made AI, it didn't work. We had to go to war with these machines.
Yeah.
Now, everything in the Dune universe is based off of hyper powerful human minds.
Yes.
So that's a hard thing to get across on film. That's why y'all didn't know that. Because it doesn't explain that.
It doesn't at all.
So there's like concepts that are hard to flesh out, and they don't really make everything make sense. The fact that they fight with swords, there's a whole backstory behind that they didn't have time to go through. What exactly the spice does, how it's made, why is it important to be like that?
Yeah.
It's also supposed to be kind of an allegory for oil in the Middle East.
That's what I kind of
There's
took it as.
that aspect of it too. Spice is what moves the world.
Yes.
We need oil to make energy. So there's a lot of moving parts here, and it's hard to do that. Plus the hero's journey. But in the book, it's a subversion of it. Remember we talked about Lonesome Dove, that concept of these are classic Western stories, but flipped on their head and done in a different way. Well, the hero's journey is done here, but it's backwards. Him being the Messiah, him being the chosen one, is bad.
Yeah.
Because the way it ends is he's going to go on a jihad. He's going to go on a holy war. And millions of people are going to die because of that. So him, like, winning against the Harkonnens and him becoming the next emperor, or him becoming this powerful being, this influential person who has a planet behind him and all the resources, it's bad that he does that. It's bad that he wins. The universe is going to suffer because of that.
But
and that's a hard
planet
concept.
Of Dune is going to be free.
Yeah. Well, no, they have to bow to him.
And then, and you saw, remember that one girl didn't bow down to him? She was the only one standing up.
Yeah.
That she told him, like, this is bad. You're not supposed to be the one.
She can see that it's a problem.
Yeah.
She can see his soul die. She can see
exactly. Yeah, like she's starting to see like he's dying.
So yeah, you kind of root for him, but you go, man, what's what's actually going on here? You're going like, oh fuck, like that's holy wars are bad, dude.
So in the documentary, I couldn't tell if this was spoiled or not, as far as like the story of Dune.
Mm-hmm.
In the documentary, they mentioned that Paul dies. I wasn't sure.
Paul doesn't die in the book.
No.
Okay. See, that's what I thought was going to be spoiled if the newer Dune movies if they continue and make more. I thought that was like the end.
He's just getting started at the end.
Yeah.
You're about to see him become the holy terror.
Exactly. Like it's supposed to be badass.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's...
That's how the second one ends is pretty much how it ends. They've used their political maneuvering to instill him as Princess... What's her name? Prince Irulan?
Yeah.
So they are planning on making more?
I don't know.
There is.
I don't know anything about...
Right.
I've seen
so it sounds
Dune
like it's
1,
going to be like
Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2. I don't know anything about subsequent movies that might come out.
out.
I think they did an HBO show. I don't know how good
that
that
was.
was.
Yeah, I heard about that, but it's more about the witches, the ladies.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
So it sounds like they're going to make numerous to continue on the story. I guess if business...
Yes, if
people
love it.
I don't think people liked this movie that much. The Dune Part 1 and
really?
Part 2. I don't think so.
Oh man.
How many?
It is different.
If we weren't doing this
The
for
only
the
reason-
episode, you would not have watched it.
No, the only reason why
I
I watched
saw it before.
No, oh, you saw it before when you mentioned here.
But I watched it because I read the book.
No, I understand that, but the only reason why I watched it because it was on Netflix. I was like, you told me because it's like when AI supposedly dies, and we're going back to like the old ways, the swords.
It's a future where they decide not to do that.
to bring, and
So the navigators and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. We'll get into it.
so yeah, but then watching the documentary made me more interested in reading the book. Like I'm like, okay, I want to see what's about this book. Like,
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's like, you remember how we were kind of blown away by Do Android's Dream coming out in like 68? Whatever it was. It's in the 60s.
Yeah.
That's what this is. This came out a long time ago, and it feels like the concept of being like, oh, I'm going to write not just a war of us against AI machines. I'm going to write what happens after that. That's pretty crazy.
It's like
So when was this book written?
I don't know exactly, but it's in the 60s.
Wow, that's crazy.
Think about that person. I don't want to get into.
Dude,
And then to
insane.
find out, and this is gonna kind of maybe hit home for people watching because this Game of Thrones got really popular because of the HBO show. That in a way really ripped off Dune. There's houses. There's nobility.
I can see that.
There's like Jon Snow meeting the wildlings. It's kind of like Paul meeting the Fremen.
The Fremen, yeah.
There's backstabs. There's betrayal.
It's the same, and everyone at house.
The Lannisters are like the
houses.
Harkonnens. Like there's a lot of weird stuff where you go, what?
Yeah.
Daenerys rides dragons. Paul rides big ass sandworms.
Dude.
There's a lot of stuff where you go, this is
shit.
like crazily, like you can tell that George R. R. Martin was a huge fan of this book.
Oh yeah. What were you saying?
Did you see the spaceships? The bad guy spaceship kind of look like aliens. Like if you can
Mm-hmm.
see it, it's like part of the alien movies. Like
Yeah.
right away, I was like, dude, that looks like the guy from Aliens, the guy who did the ships and shit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm all like, could it be the same guy, or they just got the idea? Like,
Yeah, they were the artists that they had. Like that's so smart to do it that way. I didn't really know that filmmakers do that. Like they get artists to go in, and it makes sense. I didn't realize.
We just don't read the credits, that's why.
Right. One thing
We don't. I mean, I don't think he's sitting there going, oh,
yeah,
it's like, oh, who was the artist?
oh, who was the special effects supervisor?
Yeah. No, we don't really care about that. It's sad, but we should.
It's funny because it's mentioned in Pulp Fiction when Jules is like, I don't want to do this anymore. He's like, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna travel the world or whatever. He goes like Kane in Kung Fu. That's who he's referring to as the David Carradine character. Remember when Jodorowsky goes, yeah, we met David Carradine and he came in and he took all my vitamin E pills.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was a kilo of vitamins and he ate all of them, and that's how we worked together. He was in a show called Kung Fu.
Yeah.
In like the 70s. It was sort of like a half Western, half samurai TV show.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really famous back then.
He was
David
supposed-
Carradine is Bill from Kill Bill.
Yeah.
But he was supposed to play who?
He was supposed to play Paul's dad.
Yeah, Paul's dad.
The guy that was Poe in the Star Wars movies. In Dune 1. Isaac. Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
The guy who...
That guy,
yeah.
that character was supposed to be Bill.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So he was going to play the father, and then his son was going to be Paul.
And then his son, having his son be like,
all that training
and then that guy,
with swords, karate, like everything.
Dude,
there.
it sounds like Jodorowsky did a lot of bad things to his son, but when you saw him in the documentary, he seemed super cool, man. Super chill. I feel like he had a pretty rough childhood. I ain't gonna lie.
Well,
I thought that.
Well, he did say it also too. Like he was tired, like exhausted. Like he
was ruthless.
Yeah, like he's like, why am I doing this? Like, what's
Yeah.
the point of it? But he just wanted to be that perfect. Like, you're this badass warrior. That I mean, I understand you gotta play the character. Like, what's the guy from plays Joker? How serious? How deeply he got into Joker?
Oh, like Heath Ledger.
Yeah, like
Phenomenal actor.
yes.
Yeah, I mean,
We lost him too soon, man.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He was really good.
I think it takes sometimes that level of, extent
Commitment?
to push the boundaries of some of the actors.
Well, to do it to your son is crazy because in that scene in El Topo, that's his son.
That little boy in the back.
The naked kid is his son. Yeah.
Holy
Remember, he's like, "You're 7 years old. You're a man now.
Yeah,
bury your
dog,
toy.
your toy, and
Bury your toy and bury your picture of your mom." And he starts digging in the sand. That's his actual son.
Yeah.
So he was making him do shit.
Very
I can imagine like some of the stuff that he put him through, but I just saw him there. He just looked really calm, collected.
Did he ever make movies? His son, or
I don't know.
Sure
These would have to be French or like European.
that's another
type
my
movies.
question.
It's like
how come they couldn't do it in France or some
Probably
other?
the money. Probably they didn't.
It's
have
just the
for
money.
it. I'm sure. The task to do this would have been incredible.
Well, you got to think where all, because I remember hearing like, where the fuck are they all? They would like go to Paris, and then Dali was like, okay, I'll meet you in Barcelona. So they'd go to Spain,
yeah.
they'd go to Paris, they'd go to these different places. And I mean, Jodorowsky was making movies in Mexico, like,
Yeah.
so yeah, this was failed kind of from the start.
Yeah.
This specific project.
And then also like when I heard him say like he didn't read it, I'm like, then what the hell are you like?
I think it's kind of cool. I'm like, I always want people to read the same shit that I do, but like the concept of being it almost challenging himself, being like, okay, I heard this is really popular and I just want to make something new and challenge myself. That's kind of what the vibe I got of why he wanted to do it was like, oh, there's worms and there's a weird drug that and they fight with swords. That's cool. I'll do that. He probably just heard a few things about it. I mean, he obviously read it since then. There's no way he didn't.
That's true. He had to. He had to read it.
I'm sure he has. Probably, yeah.
He had to. Like,
there's a bunch of bookshelves behind him. I'm sure a couple of his books are fucking.
Well, and then he, after the project didn't go through, he made some comic books, which I have on the table here. Yes, feel free to look through some of these because they're incredible. The writing in these are not that great. In my opinion, people might think the writing is really sweet. But the artwork is incredible. And the artwork is so interesting, so vibrant, so bright. So this is the Inkle. Jodorowsky wrote it, and Moebius, the guy that wrote the storyboards in this failed Dune project. Basically, he was like, "Let's work together," and they drew comic books together. And it's incredible. The artwork in here is the guy that did the storyboards did this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, badass.
Yeah, and there's cool monsters, it's sci-fi, it's spiritual, it's weird. There's cataclysmic events, there's post-apocalypse, there's cool weapons and spaceships. And,
man.
And then check out that one. That one is also Jodorowsky, but a different artist called Juan Jimenez. And it's incredibly violent, incredibly weird. And you can see Dune in it a lot. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that seems to be Dune. Yeah, it's very bloody, very violent.
That looks pretty bad.
There's different houses and emperors and spaceships. So he failed this movie, but said, you know what? I still think the ideas behind the sci-fi universe is really fun. So let me just keep making shit. And I can do whatever I want. What did you say earlier? Like, if he was painting, he could just do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
And he put that creative energy into these projects, and they're really fun. Again, the writing I'm not in love with. I think Jodorowsky could do with a little bit of editing, a little bit of like streamlining in terms of storytelling, because I think it's a little bit too over the place. But the artwork in here is incredible, guys. Yeah. Like, you look at this stuff and you go, man, these guys are really talented.
This stuff is crazy. I can't even show what I'm looking at right now. This is...
there's nudity and violence.
Oh,
and,
man.
Yeah, so...
you think anyone will ever make a movie out of this?
It's possible. I don't think it would do very well. I think...
is that book that comic book pretty good?
It looks...
Again, the writing isn't that great.
The story...
That's what I'm saying. The story isn't that great. The writing, I'm saying the artwork is really nice. The story's kind of a jumbled... it's technobabble. There's a lot of, like, random, like...
Yeah, this is you appreciate this for what it is in that it's art. It's pure art. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think movies they kind of sway away from that sometimes. Like, it's not an actual physical painting type of art. It's more of just a storytelling. And it's just different. It's just a different type of art. He was really wanting to put this on screen, and that's a feat. It's just different.
You have freedom with this stuff.
That, like, even like the Holy Mountain, you see like all the pictures, the visions, how they zoom out, and you see everyone. Mm-hmm. It looks like a painting. You know what I mean? It doesn't really look like a painting.
He really did have a creative eye for composition, like where things would be. Yeah. Color palettes were really incredible on some of this stuff.
Exactly.
It's really fucking cool.
Look at that page. That's really fucking cool, man. Just the artwork is just really
cool. Yeah, he was very lucky to work with super talented artists. I'm like, can you imagine like being like damn. So he knew his shit. He knew like who to talk to.
Bro.
Yeah. Dali. And even Dali's muse, that lady that he hung out, she was like, "Oh, he's gonna ruin your film."
Yeah,
because she knew how he was.
How he was.
Yeah.
Did you have these already?
I've had those ever since I've heard about Jodorowsky's Dune, which came out in I think 2013.
Yes.
So I've been into the Dune stories since like I think well before we met. I read Dune, and then the documentary about Jodorowsky came out, and it's just one of those things like. We never talked to you guys about this is a newer thing for us to like be into movies and books as much as we are. This is a newer thing for our friendship. So. It would come up, but it wasn't like this.
But movies,
books,
no, not like
we never talked about books.
No, books
Nah.
no, but movies yes.
We did watch movies, but this is like a newer thing from my friendship with you guys too. Is like
Books for sure.
finding out that oh, there's some cool shit out there.
I really want to read this book.
You should.
And I read the back. I mean the documentary back of this guy's, the Frank guy.
Oh, tell us about Frank Herbert.
Like just the way he had multiple jobs, and there's the world that he created in his head. It was all in his head. And after his part time, he will go write. It's just he says like people are saying like how he made a whole entire universe, and even like people didn't even know about technology or about where we're going to the future, and he already had like a vision of it. Like if we continue to go this route, eventually AI will take over. Eventually, there's gonna become
We'll rebel against AI.
yeah, and then we're gonna have all these planets. Like this we're talking about.
And we're gonna use drugs to make us superhuman.
Yeah, like he grew up in 50, like when he was in the 50s probably when he was born, or maybe in the,
No, it would have had to been earlier than that.
40s.
He would have been at least in his 20s in the 60s.
Like think about it, bro. Like he was already thinking.
Yeah, he was. This is like one of the godfathers of
like
science
Sci-fi.
fiction. It's like science fiction fantasy. It's kind of like it's not really hard science. You almost get the vibe that it has like a Star Wars type feel, where it's not really the science isn't that important. He makes it a point that the machines and ships don't matter that much.
Yeah, because I mean, in Star Wars, you don't really understand how a lightsaber is made, or
Yeah, the science of it doesn't really matter.
No,
it's more
just-
so it's a fantasy. It's
right.
just like knowing like how he knew this before where we at now.
yeah. Some of it is crazily like, wait, he was talking about the Middle East when?
Right? That's like,
He was talking about oil and wars
like
and
he had an insight, or like that he knew. Like,
the concept of like why the Fremen start following Paul like immediately is because the Bene Gesserit that his mom works for or belongs to, they went to several planets and put their religion there already.
yeah.
So that's crazy that the concept of like missionary work and being like,
Jeez. Where did this guy grow up?
manipulating planets. I don't know. You might know better than me.
Is he American or is he?
Oh,
yeah,
he's either British or I think he's American.
No,
as
he's
fuck.
American, but I don't know.
I think he's American as fuck.
I know he was in the countryside. He lived in the
Oh yeah,
countryside.
yeah.
Wow.
He was probably around Mormons.
And
He probably lived in the desert.
Yeah.
But I know he had
Arizona or
multiple. He
something.
was a trash can guy. He like dumped out trash. He worked as a server. He did some like what was a courthouse, like where
Oh, like a bailiff.
like a bay like that. He did a bunch of stuff, and he wrote this in the meantime.
Wow.
And just in his memory, like it's just crazy how this guy was thinking already about the future, and look where we're going. Like
Wow.
AI is already printing
The
out
concept
pictures.
of thinking of the future isn't that unique. The fact that it's hitting really close.
Yes, very close. Like
Our stress about what AI is and being like, man, imagine if someone took our voices and our pictures and made us say something that we didn't say, and then dealing with it or making like
they can do that.
pornographic images of actresses and being like AI is doing that, and the stress of that, and him being like, okay, but I'm gonna think further than that.
Yeah, he's well.
And
the
the-
thought
the-
of it is
And
well
I
formed.
hear
The way the navigators work, their physiology changes. It makes people into like these weird twisted monsters, and that's not in here. I think it comes in the later books where it kind of explains what's going on there. But the spice, the melange, whatever it's called, it makes their thinking so ahead of it, or so like super powered, that's how they can fly these spaceships and not crash into anything. They can see a little bit in the future and turn the ship before to like know how to get somewhere without crashing. So like that superhuman ability is not relying on the computer to do it.
So spice isn't something that's just like fuel. It's more deeper than that.
It's an allegory for fuel, but yes.
Yes, it's like whoever controls it, you can control the whole universe.
Yeah, if you run the spice, you run the
you
galaxy.
know the whole
yeah.
entire thing.
Got it.
It's kind of how he was saying about the Middle East with oil. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's crazy how he has the desert, and this is very valuable, and then people want it, and all these different families come and take it. Same thing
Yeah,
with
it's
the Middle-
Saudi princes and
Like, it's nuts, bro.
One thing that I thought was really cool, and I don't think this is probably true. I think even Jodorowsky mentions it in the documentary, is that in his Dune, at the end of the movie, the planet becomes green and it becomes this luscious forest.
Oh yes.
I thought that was super cool from like a storytelling perspective because I loosely know the story of Dune.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like imagining that, and I think that's a really cool change that he made to kind of create an end to the whole movie in itself.
Yeah, it was like fast forwarding to the ending because that's kind of what the Fremen wanted the whole time. Is they want to just change Dune into a paradise. And if they do that, the spice is gone.
The worms start dying off. And they're the ones that.
So that does happen in the books then.
Not in this one.
No, dude, I've read. I didn't read it. I seen the
that revelation that the worms have something to do with the spice. It's part of their like reproduction and their like the worms are integral to making spice.
Oh, okay.
So if you destroy the worms, there's no spice anymore.
There's no spice at all.
Okay.
So the concept of them being like, well, the whole point of all this is to make our planet into a paradise. Then all of a sudden, the thing that runs the galaxy is gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
So there's no more spice.
Got
If
But
the Fremen get what they want, it's gone. So that creates a sort of conflict of interest there, where you go, well, we want the Fremen to still follow us, but we have to hold off turning this into a paradise just yet. It's complicated.
So it is in the books where
it's not in this book. In Dune, it's not in there. It is in the series. It is in the franchise. It does expand on exactly what's going on.
Right. That's what I mean. Like in the from what he wrote, the author wrote, it's in there that it would become a paradise.
Eventually it will.
I haven't finished all of it because it gets weird.
One of his sons becomes one of those worms.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. Is that one of the grandsons or son becomes one of the worms.
Yeah.
So he's got like the human torso, but then his bottom half is like sandworm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets weird. It gets weird, and then it's like, then you go, well, does that mean he makes spice? I don't know. It's weird.
And that son realizes that it's running out. And
jeez.
And then I'm just kidding.
I do.
Honestly, it makes sense. Like hearing all that, like it makes now like Alejandro doesn't seem as crazy anymore. Like all the people that he chose for like artistic, expression doesn't sound that crazy anymore. It sounds like super on point for what the story is.
Yeah. It feels like it could have been a really interesting thing. I think we all agree that even if we might not have loved whatever project he could have made, but if he made it, we'd all watch it and we'd all be kind of fascinated by it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just Pink Floyd. We'll go back to the beginning of the video. Like, dude, just that would have been sick.
Yes.
Just having a cool sci-fi background with cool shit going on and sword fights and monsters with Pink Floyd in the background.
Sand and then the colorful
bro.
Even if Pink Floyd did like the crappy version, David Lynch version, like that they would probably still do a decent job even for David. I mean, granted they'd probably have a limited, whatever.
Yeah.
But I still think that they probably could still do a good job even if they did it for David Lynch's film.
It's just so hard to watch, bro.
Oh yeah, I tried. I was in like 10 minutes and I was like, I can't do this.
Can we real quick talk about, because I don't know if we'll ever do Dune with you guys. I'd like to, if you guys at some point read them or audiobooked them or whatever.
I'm gonna
and we can and we
I'm down.
I'm super.
At some point in the future, we should do it.
I'll try.
Because the houses names and all that stuff is a little, it's a little more confusing in the book than it is in the movies.
Oh hell, bro.
So it's a lot. But there is like the big thing with this, the big theme of Dune that I kind of want to go over. But we can do it on the video. If we do a video on this, we can save it till then.
Okay.
Because more so on the because we're running out of time here, so I think we should kind of get close to our conclusions and whatever. I think that if you're interested in filmmaking, if you're interested in Dune, watch it. You'll enjoy it. Jodorowsky is an interesting character, and I think this project would have been really fun. And it is kind of cool to see the impact that it's had on Hollywood as a whole.
It has.
Oh yeah,
it really has.
Without it even being made.
Yeah, exactly. That's
so. Check it out. It's cool. And if you can find one of these kind of rare, expensive comics, you can check them out. Check them out.
Also, some of the costumes came from Star Wars. They came from their idea, right? From his.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, he didn't really have anything that looked like Darth Vader.
Remember, there's one where he said, "Well, he said where there's a lightsaber when Luke Skywalker's training with the ball, He has one where he's training with this little.
Yeah, but that's not the costume.
No, just the scene. I guess the scene.
Oh yeah, it seems a little influenced by it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. I think that was pushing it a little bit. I don't know if that was like, oh, let's do a carbon copy Dune, but
yeah, no, it was more coincidental.
Oh, okay.
I felt that way.
I would agree.
They probably didn't like read that big book that he made.
If every studio had it, then that means
they had to.
A producer that worked for that studio went through it. That means that somebody
huge.
there, like if we were
huge.
for a movie studio and some guy comes in with a book like this and it's like, hey, we want to make this movie, and we go, no, we're gonna not, but we keep it. I would probably use it.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Nobody
knows.
No, we don't know. But
speaking about that book, though, is that normally how it goes down? Like back then,
it seems unusual.
Okay, because I wanted to comment that was really cool. That even though he was this like kind of mad genius, kind of crazy kind of guy, the organization of it I thought was really. I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
you don't find a lot of people who are like super artistic. Their desks are probably like scattered with papers and everything. They're not like so like, hey, look,
photocopying.
I got every single scene.
I got every single shot literally right here.
That's crazy.
Like that's not abnormal, and I thought that was cool.
You know, not like I haven't seen the whole movie of his, like the Holy Mountain on and stuff, but just seeing some of those colors and pictures. Like if you see films now that are really big, it's kind of like sort of his vision, like sort of like the way psychedelic craziness. Yeah. Like even Gordon Flash, whatever.
Flash Gordon,
like you could tell, like it was some of his costumes and.
Some of it, and it could be. There's a saying that life imitates art, and vice versa. So it could just be that this thing exists in the artistic realm, and people tap into it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Frank Herbert figured some shit out about like what AI was going to be is cool, but it's like that's I don't know. He could have just tapped into just like the stresses and the anxieties of the time.
Yeah. If you just told 10 writers, hey, write about what AI is going to look like, they would all be different, but they could probably be very similar, aspects. So that's why like I can get where like this whole Dune would be like a jump start for a lot of the films that we see today. But like some of the stuff I'm like, I think it's just a matter of people kind of having the same ideas. We have the same, even though we're not influenced heavily on something, we still kind of know what like sci-fi might look like or what, AI might look like. So that's why I kind of like didn't necessarily, I thought it was more coincidental other than anything else.
Looks like our timer went off. I think we ran out. I think Charlie came in here and lost some time for us, knocking crap over. I don't know if the mic is going to pick it up. We got a blaring little alarm back there. No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll just close it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much if you made it this far. We are going to bring you some new fun stuff in the upcoming 2025.
Yeah.
We're going to get out of here. It's been crazy. All the animals are acting wild. We got them digging holes in the wall.
AI is beeping at us.
AI is telling us it's time to wrap it up. We're going to get out of here, you guys. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Y'all come back and see us again. Thank you.